welcome them. Thank you so much for coming. This is our follow-up to our September meeting where so many great ideas were engendered. It was the amount of creativity and the amount of positivity and forward thinking that everyone showed was so gratifying to see, and the richness of the discussion and the interaction was superb. So tonight we followed this up, and in looking at all the ideas that were generated on that September afternoon, the ideas kind of sifted out into three main things that I thought we thought we could, as placemakers, think about tonight, with the idea of what's doable. What about these things is doable, and who would like to help see them come to fruition. The first thing that really rose to the surface was the idea that we need to communicate better, that the different organizations in town and people who are doing things are doing wonderful things, and the more effectively we can communicate that, the better the marketing of all our programs will be, the better the attendance, the wider the scope, maybe not just in Clinton but throughout the whole region, we can get that kind of thing doing. So one of the things tonight that you'll be able to take advantage of is the calendar that her cars put together, and this is a handout that you can take home, and we'll do some visuals so that you'll know how to post things on the calendar to get the word out. The other thing, we talked about the need for signage in a couple of ways. One, signs that let people know what's going on. Signs that are wayfaring signs to help people flow through town and know where things are. Parking signs to know where to park. I mean, if you're new to town or you just moved here and you work in Middletown and you don't come to the center of town, you don't have the idea that there is parking there and there are things that you would love to do once you're downtown. So that kind of the idea of signage and wayfaring, and again this also underscores the need for promotion, and so that's another thing that people can think about and maybe work on doing. And then the last idea that seemed to have a lot of weight to it was the idea of really celebrating the uniqueness of Clinton's history, and through that developing a history trail, a walking history trail that people could come and we can market and support and publicize, and again strengthening our assets.
No, I think that was it. It was also be a little broader too, because the first topic was not just communicating, it was just coordinating. I mean, to understand, and these could be kind of chopped up into as broad as you want it. One is there's so many things that do happen in the town that, and people, even people in the most of the people here do most of them. We don't know what somebody else is doing, and there are calendars. Not to say they don't exist. There's a chamber calendar, there's a town calendar. But, if you've ever really worked on it, you realize the calendars aren't full, people don't post things on it, people don't know what's really going on, so either we bump into each other, or we have something, 2 or 3 things going on 2 or 3 different weekends, but if we put it together on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, we have a weekend. And we have critical mass and we can actually do something. I mean, what Jess was doing, with the arts project, you have the arts project, you have an art scroll, you have something else, you put together with some food trucks, however many the third rail of whatever, you put it together, you've got an event. And if enough people to say, look, and Kirk has done a lot of work with this, we already have, how do we make sure everybody uses the same reference book? That's all. And that's it. The second one, it's not just the signage too, which is from 95 coming in off exit 62 to the signs like Old Saybrook has in front of Pearson, whatever. I mean, I called Old Saybrook today. They're 20 grand to build, 18 or 19 grand to build, $40 a month to run. I talked to the town clerk there. So, I mean, it's sizable, but, that plus just communicating. Just when we have an event in the town, and to take examples like just even the Bluefish Festival, there's kind of a feeling here that people inside the town know what's going on. And usually it's the people that work on it know what's going on, but really even inside of the 16,000 people in town, 50 do the work, and the other 1,400, 950, whatever it is, don't know, much less the outside of town. I mean, we really don't, we don't have a radio station, we don't have a patch anymore that really is any good. So that's the second thing, really, that's the second. And then the third is, and I don't think it's just to be relegated just to the history, because we started with the history walk, which is a nice specific thing. Yeah, we really could. You got a really great way of people going up and down town, kind of a miniature freedom trail in Boston kind of thing. But if you start thinking about it, it's not just history, it's culture, it's a lot of other, how do we put that together? And I think that each one of these three different groups, you kind of realize that there are people doing it already. So one of the things to be conscious of, there are people that are involved in all of these different things. And if the purpose, and Kirk put a logo together about cogs, it's really, we're not the wheels, Kirk said we're kind of like the lubricant, the oil, to make sure that, try to work together. If we could have everybody work together more efficiently, we're not getting anybody's way. And I think that's what it is. And if hopefully people could kind of gravitate to what they think they could do better, they want to do, or they personally have an interest in those three groups, and then personally even look for help, because you know people that aren't here that are workers, because most of these people here are the workers. There's workers and there's not workers, but get some other ones. Maybe we can attack some of these things. Go after City Hall, go after the EDC, go to the Chamber, go to the Historical Society if we've got ideas. Not to be pushy, but just try to make, how can we make this better? And that's where the three kind of horizontal themes that went through everybody's little problem here. How the town works. It takes you a long time to understand how this building works. How people get things done here. So.
Or not to be negative, but how it doesn't work and how can we make it better?
Yeah.
Right. Identifying things and figuring out how can we do it, and maybe doing it with some semblance of an organization, you get a little bit more voice. I don't think anybody doesn't want to do it in town. I mean, when you really talk to them, everybody agrees they want it to be done better. It's just maybe a sustained effort to try to do it. That's it.
And I think the other part of it is that thinking about the things you don't do because you don't have the resources, and that if you pooled your resources or you found things that, there are probably some common themes of things that everybody would like to see done, but they don't have the resources to do it themselves. And I think that's where a group like this comes together and says, okay, what resources could we share? Whether it's, I think a calendar is a good example of it, of trying to share some resources. But I'm sure there are other things that are not as obvious as,
Well, there's also duplication of efforts that we could, work together instead of having duplication. Minor has his wonderful film, and the Rotary has the same, right now has our Thanksgiving, where every dollar we put into Liberty Bank as a donation is matched by Liberty Bank. So those kind of things, working together to maximize our help to the soup pantry or whatever.
And that is super, and to see the things that are going on, and when we were talking about coordination, this happened, the Clinton events booklet that we all get mailed to the home. Well, you'll notice in there that there's a wonderful article about the Clinton Education Foundation Adult Spelling Bee, written by me and not taken out when all of a sudden it dawned on us that there was a soccer dance here in the building the night that we were planning, which would be a week from Saturday. We originally were planning to have the adult spelling bee.
Yes.
So I pulled the publicity in the other places, forgot I had sent it to Clinton events, and so of course it came to every household. But the other thing that we learned about this, there were no calls. Nobody called to say, oh, I would like to be part of so that isn't much of an effective way of publicizing things. And so it was a learned lesson. There will be an adult spelling bee, and perhaps members of the Placemakers might want to do that. It'll be sometime it'll be in the beginning of March, so.
I think one of the things that's happening is there are a lot more activities in town. When we had a apple pie a few weeks ago, I'm a numbers guy, so I have a little clicker and I keep track of people, and come to realize that even between 3 and 4 years ago, there's a lot more stuff. Everybody's on a traveling sports team, which they weren't before. So I think you have to almost plan, you have to plan a year in advance. Like I just finished our calendar for 2015 and get that on the town, you know, to book the rooms and things that we need to get a banner outside. So I think we all have to realize that the audience that we're appealing to is in reality smaller because everybody's got something going on. So I think everybody's got to get together and plan well in advance and then figure out how to publicize it in advance to appeal to whatever segment that, you know, if you're not hitting the sports community, then how do we appeal to them? It's, but that's the reality, is that, you know, if you're a family of 4 or 5, you got, you know, a traveling team on one day, you got soccer on another day, you got fall baseball on another day, and like you said, there goes the weekend.
You call those the dark years. Thank God I'm out of the dark years.
Well, I'm Meredith Adler. For those who don't know me, but Lisa and I were just saying, yeah, we're in the dark years. It's a lot of fun, but it is, your time just gets sucked away. And I noticed when I was just perusing the calendar, we absolutely would have to make sure that the schools think into this, because if there doesn't matter what's going on in town, if my kid has something at school, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's going, and that can really be an issue with.
Do the schools have a Google Calendar?
They do.
So if somebody sends me the link to it, it'll aggregate into this calendar.
Yes, they have a calendar.
It is a Google Calendar.
Yeah, not everybody has one though. I think Pearson doesn't, but I think all the other schools do. But
But to my point, if that is a problem, I mean, I know up until last year, this was even the 350 year, we wanted to do something in the fall homecoming thing, and it ended up at Thanksgiving, so we had to do something else, but it was this time last year, they still didn't know what homecoming was going to be. Remember, we kept on calling, we called the coach. I mean, we're interrupting the kids, where's homecoming? Because we wanted to bundle in their homecoming, so they'd be here with a parade and the Halloween thing, so it'd be something for all ages of kids. They didn't know, so that's a problem, but you know, it's a fixable problem. Because it seems to me, you gotta know who you're playing. I mean, somewhere on a piece of paper, it's, oh, it's Old Saybrook. I mean, it's not, this is not NSA, you know? Hey, come on in.
And the other thing, to your point too, John, if events were bundled and there was something, Families Helping Families was doing something on one night and it was the weekend of the George Flynn concert and the Rotary had an event and it was a celebration that wrapped up all of these events to appeal to multiple audiences and then publicize throughout the shoreline to, get other folks in.
Well, the other thing, across the county,
Right.
once you got the event Friday, you can hand out a flyer, say, Saturday night is this, and Sunday afternoon is this sort of plan. So, basically you can have a plan of activities that, number one, in this economic times, don't cost anything for people to go to, which is appealing.
Right. How many people know that we're having a 75th anniversary celebration for the police department on it? But I mean, a lot of people,
Is it on a specific day?
the
November
22nd.
22nd.
Oh, okay, oh.
But a lot of people, didn't get something to be asked to be friends of. I mean, the Rotary I just came from a Rotary board meeting, just did our advertisement tonight, which has to be in tomorrow, for the program. But a lot of people don't even get it.
Well, I mean, honestly, as a business owner, I know about that because I got the appeal letter. And that's usually when I find out about things.
So
If somebody sends me a letter that they send me money. And that is a way I find out about a lot of things that are happening in town. That's how I find out about that.
You gotta work to find out what's happening.
Well, there are two sides. One side is the internal, within the community. The other thing is getting people outside, and it's a separate problem. Getting people from the region or anybody who might be interested in something that's happening here, bringing them here, showing them what the town has to offer.
In the last meeting, they had brought up the idea of a kiosk, like similar to what they had in downtown Madison. And placing one in key places in town. Down by the marina was one, maybe along East Main here somewhere in this vicinity.
Well, we have the 1630 house, right, which is supposed to fill that, but not a lot of traffic going by there, I don't think.
Pedestrian traffic.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's in front of the post office and that's.
They don't have any material for the tourists to come over there, but now just we have this year the Clinton promo, we had a couple of tourists, not that much as we had before. But we should have some brochure. Unfortunately, we do not have any.
So since I'm a numbers guy, where do we go from here?
Yeah, right, and so.
You know, there's two things. We need to have a plan and a goal, and not necessarily in that order. If the goal is
I think you start with the goal and then identify what do you need to get to the goal. And then, I think we can not overstress this. This is the art of the doable. I mean, this is not putting the sewer system into town. I mean, it's not things like that. But it's like identifying, how can we coordinate better? What do we need to do? What are the impediments to it? We just identified high school, getting the school system feeling fully integrated in town, which it is not. As an outsider, my kids never went here, but there always seems to be this schism between, if you don't have kids in school, it's not a part of it. It's like they got separate everything. They're operating kind of a separate thing. How do we make them feel part of the town so that at least they want to give us information for things? That's an issue. And then try to identify how we're going to fix it. Some things we won't be able to. And I think on those three different topics of town coordination and working together with facility and better, basically, communication, signage, direction in the town, from physical stuff to actually promoting what we do outside between past the Hammonasset River and 145, someplace out there. And then the other is how do we kind of like very efficiently and, take advantage of the assets in this town. These two guys, Wally Wood and Roy Dickinson, the guy who died, but, they put those books we did last year, the walk through town, they're wonderful books we did for the 350, and they were wonderful art director. They did all themselves, they donated this whole thing. Well, they came up from Westport, and they were blown away with how many buildings still existed, how many standing houses still existed. Now, they made them look a lot more attractive in that little brochure than they are when you're going down Route 1, but they saw the potential in it because down there they've all turned into Ann Taylor and Gucci stores. They don't have any homes left on Route 1 going through Westport. We don't see that. And that's that third part of this historical thing. How can we actually, that's probably the easiest thing to do, how can we make this thing a historical, cultural mark? Lee Lane, when we went to the George Flynn concert a couple weekends ago. That's amazing. And she actually got me to go to the first one because she gave me a free ticket. I thought they cost money. That's why
She didn't charge you?
And scalpers. So, those are the kinds of things that I think, there's certain people just looking around here that's how do we promote that better? We have a real edge on this thing. We're not just clams here in Clinton. There is a lot of culture and art. And I think that's something. But if we figure out, and this should be done by the group, that's what we're hoping to do, is to break it into kind of discrete groups and lay out the goals. We're not here to lay out, what are the goals? How do you want to do, what are the problems of getting there? What's a road to doing it? And then you can actually put down feasibility, this is going to be really hard to do, or we should do it. And then get something done.
I would say that this is the 17th year, and we have tried so many things to try to get people to know about the concerts. We put out the signage. Okay, that was clamped as to how much time we could have. Then we put up, then we did a brochure. Last year, we did a brochure to the entire town, and some people are telling me, oh, I never received it. Well, and then we've been putting in ads in every single paper, so this is costing us a lot of money to do this.
Which is crazy.
Well, I think it's necessary, because people do not, unless they get it in the mail or something, they're not going to pay attention to it.
Right, but even if they get it in the mail, I throw out 10, 12 things every day. And if it's something that doesn't immediately jump out to me as being relevant to me, it's going. I don't have time to
Even when you see
look
things,
at-
you forget, 75% of people forget something within 24 hours on an ad,
But
so.
like the gazebo concerts, those are all well attended,
Well, they're right in the middle of town. right?
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
they're regular.
you're right.
They're in a regular
The
sequence.
point is that if you had a place where where there was some place where people could access it and know that if they wanted to find out about it, so that the emphasis isn't always on you to make sure that, or to spend money to do all the advertising when it may or may not reach your target audience. So that if there's a place where somebody can go online to see what's happening, you could put a notice in there that says, you know, requests for tickets are due on this day. So you don't just have to be the event, you could put something on the calendar that says, remember to, you know, do
Right,
whatever.
a calendar like this, yes, we have our own website, which we put every
Right, but
single concert
somebody
on.
has to go to that
Yeah,
website. So
right.
what we've talked about and what Kirk has been working on is a calendar system that you could link with this, and everything you put on your calendar would be on this calendar.
Yeah, well, we've done that with the chamber calendar.
Right, so it would be to sort of go more broadly than that. And the other thing I think about, you know, comments were made about how the school district doesn't really tell people what's going on. They tell the school people, and it's like anybody else, you know. We can't say that we have to convince them to tell us. They're telling somebody, but maybe their message isn't getting out, just like everybody else's message isn't getting to everyone. So I think we have to be really careful about placing blame on people for not telling others what's happening in town, because everybody's telling
And
some
everybody has a
separate audience.
constituency.
Right, exactly, and so they're telling somebody, but I'm not tapped into that. But it's not that they're not telling me. We just have to figure out a way to make it all come together in place.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that my husband and I, for the first time, went to a few concerts this year, and we've lived in town since 2000, and we like classical music, and we saw the signs, and we knew about them, but what it took for us is that our youngest son came home, and his music teacher who was playing in the concert, said, please come, Carolyn Engel, please come and hear me play. Yes, please come and hear me play. And there were tons of kids who were there with their parents, and we all sitting around, wow, we've never been, this is great. And then we came back. So it's almost like you can advertise and advertise and advertise, but what finally gets you is that personal connection. So the more we can link to each other, you're at a family, so many families, and then people there are saying, oh,
support
please come out.
Well, there's two sides to it. I mean, we can, put it out and advertise it, and everybody can. But if everybody like puts it on their Facebook and sends it, and their friends see it, and you put a comment on, wow, what a concert, I'm gonna go to the next one. And put the date down, and then people will see that. If we put together all the people we reach out to on a regular basis, that's another way, that's much more personalized than a calendar.
The other thing, and I'm not being negative, but I've come to be realistic to how many people I can expect at an event, no matter what I do. It's just this competition for every single event. So, you're going to establish, a line. And I know that I can do the greatest event in the world, but I'm not going to get much more than 320, 350 people. That's just the reality.
About 900.
Yeah, it seems to me like
We've got 900 left.
That's great. So you should be very happy.
we're standing alone.
Yeah, that's great. That's phenomenal.
But I think that also, you're touching on, if the school teacher saying, come to see me play, if during the announcements in the morning, somebody said, there's a George Flynn concert, it's gonna have Mozart, and who Mozart was, it'd be not, and if at a town hall meeting, somebody said, George Flynn concert's gonna be next year, I'm using that as an example, but whatever is going on, if somebody just promoted it, it's not their own little thing they're doing, it's something the town is doing, that's kind of written into every script, it's kind of like when you have an event, it's supposed to be, it's like the priest thing, yeah. But, you stand up in front of they say, here's what's going on across town, so, show up.
Well,
I mean, it's not, it's just kind of like, it's a cultural thing, having people think of, what else can I say people to do except for good night, you know?
Is there a way, someone made the comment, and I agree, patch is not what it used to be
It's not
since the Abrahamson left. However, I still am getting my email, and half the time I just delete. Can we do some kind of an email thing to everybody who wants to, to be advised of what is coming up this weekend, and you're told, and you pick and choose, all the venues.
We can definitely put together an email list, though you do
Well,
want
then it's
to.
expensive, but I mean, an email.
Yeah, exactly, through constant contact. Like, we set something up for the initial invitation to the September thing, and what we discovered was that sometimes other people's servers block that, or if they have spam filter, it gets
Oh, that's
blocked.
true, yes.
So.
No, but I mean, that's.
I guess nothing seems foolproof.
No, I mean, it's like, you sign up at Joanne Fabrics to be on the mail list.
And that seems
So now you get
Yeah.
every day I get something from Joanne Fabrics. Can something like that be done,
Yeah,
That would be, because everybody's got their, I'm sure.
But it has to be
my
their personal email address. If they, for example, were, say, a teacher at the school and they were using their school address, it won't get to them.
No, but if they did,
But their
were to
personal
sign
address,
up a
sure.
personal address.
And we were thinking about in those terms like meeting, and I mean, this would be a wonderful opportunity for kids doing community service at the high school to operate a service like that. West Hartford has a wonderful service called Woo-Hoo that several times a week it will let you know everything that's going on in West Hartford. And it's it is absolutely wonderful. But we need bodies to do that and really take ownership of it. Could it be done by volunteers? I'm not sure. The West Hartford site that I look at is so professional and so
It belongs to
inclusive.
the newspaper.
It belongs to the newspaper.
It is professional, it belongs to the newspaper, and it overlaps with, I looked at that too.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
But it is belong clearly. And maybe, that leaves us a choice. Either the newspaper, there is a newspaper here that could could have a good digital edition. They link you up to, what is it?
06.
The 06, which isn't very good.
No.
And it only basically covers the articles that they published. It's good for that. But, we could, replace a replacement patch.
But you could also, like if I got another email subscription, I get 50 to 100 a day. And I just click them all that I don't think I have time, that aren't critical, and erase them before I open them. So you're gonna have the same issue. But another way to do it is if you set up a Facebook page that has, it's, you can't post on it, but you subscribe to it, and only certain people subscribe, and then it comes once, whenever there's an update, because I have a few of those that somebody updates something, it shows up on my Facebook page because I've subscribed to it. So
It's at the police
if people
station.
subscribe to something
Police station.
and, and somebody who has access to it, it could say, new event or reminder or whatever. I mean, it wouldn't take, that way you wouldn't have to have somebody maintaining a database of email addresses and trying to add and subtract and, add. People could opt in instead of somebody having to add.
All you do is like it, so that's what we did in the 350, and we didn't have, it wasn't the same, there wasn't anything really going on, but if you get the things, you want to make sure enough people like it. I mean, you know how many of these you get, Italian living, every day, 3 or 4, but it's very easy to do. We do have a Facebook page, we set one up for Placemakers to just, there's me and you and 2 other people like it. But that is something, and what happens is that anything that could be, like, we love Clinton or something, it could be some name, something like that, and anybody, and it doesn't have to be just 1 or 2 editors, You could actually have a lot of editors, among the right people, and for your group, if you got something going on, you just post it, said, hey, this weekend down by the dock, we're having a boat building thing, or, we're, don't forget, tomorrow night, George Flynn, we're sorry, this one's sold out,
Yeah,
I mean, it does,
next month.
and if you do it to the, well, that's, a Facebook thing you really don't. You have 3 or 4 people that can actually get on as administrator. So you have to make sure that the person, the people that can actually post things are sane, It's about it.
So that, John.
And somebody that actually wants to put things in, so you say, wow, that's a great idea, it's gonna be a beautiful day this weekend, we're gonna do this. Somebody remembers, let's get it on Facebook page, because everybody that's like it, it's gonna come up just like your friend posted something, just shows up. And if you don't get everybody, you do get the people, you need the movers and shakers, or you need people that have friends, and usually if you get that core 200 or 300 people in a town that know what's going on, it kind of radiates out. I mean, that's it. You can't get everybody. It worked for us. We got things, people that show up, and we had the same thing, signs in a Facebook page, and we didn't have radio stations or anything, so it can be done, and if it was for the whole town, what you need is making sure you post on it. You could be, you're sane, and I think Elaine's sane, you're sane, so, anything for the Flynn thing you'd want to put on. It's easy, it's just, and it's, people can, you don't want to turn it into a blog, but people can like it or not like it, or they say, we're going to go and run away. It's pretty positive stuff. They can say, well, we're going to go.
What is the placemaker?
Placemakers,
Yeah, I
not,
forget.
Oh, it's Clinton Placemakers?
it's a,
I'll send everyone that's here tonight.
then if you like it, then that starts it. And then you have other people like it, and then,
Because I didn't even know that there was a taste.
well, we didn't tell you. We didn't tell you on purpose.
And Tully would have been here with me, but she had
Oh,
research.
yeah.
You're too sane.
She had research. I just took her home.
Andrea, did you have
Well, I was just saying that the Clinton PTA has a Facebook page and anybody can post on it. I believe Erica Gelvin looks at it, but, I always ask her if I can put something on. But it's kind of like what you're saying, so, I get updates, and it seems to be working well, the Clinton PTA.
I mean, it's
Anybody can.
a solution, and
It is.
if there are people that know how much better verse than I am, I just know it works. And we had about 6 or 7 people that could put things on it, and it can be whoever you want. Nobody's going to screw this thing up. It's just you want to promote things. You take a picture, you pick a picture, iPhone, you pull it up and look at this. I mean, it's kind of like, I think what Lauren is doing a great job of. You have the Clinton Facebook page right now. Anytime that anything is happening in town, she posts a picture of a new opening or something happening, or kids doing something. I mean, it's a breakthrough for the Chamber of Commerce to be done. It's very easy to do. If you got 12 or 15 people involved in it, there'd be all sorts of stuff you could constantly post.
So who wants to be on that committee?
Well, that's it. Now, what we should do is kind of whack this group up into, history walks, and, kind of a historical thing. How do we romance the history of the town better, put a history walk, get all the different historical assets leveraged? That's one group. Another group is this coordination, which is the thing we're talking about, but, really it is going to overlap. And the other is how do we actually communicate in the town better? It goes from signage throughout the town, wayfaring as they call it, signs outside. How do we promote? How do we look for another way of actually getting people on the entire Connecticut River Valley, not just between our 2 rivers, to understand things go on here? And so you got 3 things, and it's, who's interested in what, kind of move to a table with something, and it's better smaller, a group, you get double digit in the group, and usually it can't work. You get more than 9 people serving in a building, so. I mean, that was kind of the hope here, that people would say, look, certain people obviously are interested in something specific here. Most of us more generalists, but, and they do cross-pollinate. I know I'm on at the EDC, a lot of these things come up at other meetings, with the EDC last night, we're talking about that, about not knowing where things are in town, the signage thing, that pops up not just here, but everywhere. If we start with it, but the EDC ends up doing it and pays for it, it's even better. We don't want to have to do these things. It's more kind of poke things and get some things done in this town. If we have to do it, we do
It
it.
would be useful in each category to identify one thing to use your word, is doable. That, so we can have some successes, some visibility right off the bat. You know, something, we could probably do something with parking signage pretty quickly. We know that we've been trying for years to do the signs from 95 and on 95 and get them changed, directing people to Clinton, and then having event signs inside those interchanges. That's Department of DOT, and it's almost impossible. But I think maybe the parking signs. Everybody always highlights that. A lot of signage. I think the bulletin board thing, it's been kicking around with a bunch of organizations. There's some money set aside. That would be, you know, that's going to take longer. That's going to take 7-8 months to accomplish between raising the money and doing all of that. Maybe a year to accomplish. But parking signs we could do quickly.
You can bridge the gap to the man upstairs, and he's about ready to submit his CEC proposal and put it in the CEC. It's a capital expense that's going to be there for years and years.
Right? We were talking
Good
about,
idea.
we were talking about the other night, I remember, getting it.
I mean, why this is impossible, but we did have exit 64, exit 62. They didn't say it should be Clinton and Madison. And they said that all they can to exit 62 to Clinton. There's 2-3 exits we have for Clinton. Right? Unfortunately, this is 64, there's no sign.
62 is the important one too.
62, what's the 62? No?
Yeah, that's, and you know, I would say, go to Madison and say, well, we both got our names on it.
Yeah.
They have their name on it either.
Right.
You know?
Just as M&S. Yeah.
And then the other very discreet, specific thing is a history walk. I mean, that's something you can, physically you can do. You get little plaques up, you know, however you want to do it. There's a lot of history in this town, from the water, from the shipbuilding to old brick to whatever. That's a physical thing you can see, and all the bigger things of really organizing all the historical assets and the cultural, that's a little bit larger, but real specific things you can see get done is how you start.
Is a
So
bulletin
maybe we
board,
can break up now.
right, is a bulletin board, you're talking about the LEDs, Alan, is that?
That's what I was thinking, yeah, something.
I mean, I think the other thing those LEDs do is they take the place of all these banners. And if they do, they also save the people who put up banners money. And so I guess the thing is I think that, I think the people who put up banners would probably be willing to actually pay something to get it posted on there for some period of time, that it might even be self-liqudating.
Did Sabre charge when Kate posts?
I don't know. I don't know that. All I know is because I didn't ask him. We were trading phone messages, but she was very nice. So it was one was 19, one was 18, one in front of the border. There's one in front of the Cape, there's one by 95, and there's one in front of the Board of Ed. Board of Ed she doesn't know anything about. It's $40 a month to run. They're very finicky. I mean, you know, glitches and things like that in there, which, you know, they're older. But, I mean, even if they charge or they don't charge, Kurt's point about saying, look, we're going to charge you so much money per month to run it. It cost you $80, $200 to make some of these banners, and they're only good for one event. So give me $50. You save 150, we put 50 in.
Right.
And you can rotate these things, you know, I mean, you sign them to be static, and the thing is you have 2 or 3 different messages going on at the same time. You can throw a few Gillette commercials in there.
And we can charge for time and
That's right. But, I mean, I think that's just a no-brainer. It's just, and people say, well, gee, we tried it, it didn't work. Well, let's find out how to make it work and do it.
There was a proposal to put one in front of the inn,
Right.
Okay.
whether the dollars are there.
Right, and the other issue,
Money has been set aside for it, so now.
We gave $6,000 at the end of our little stint to Willie to build a sign.
And there was some previous money.
Rotary was going to, actually had Lenny came or something to do a
We
prototype.
marked one up many years ago and it was gonna look like the brick one in front of the Saybrook High School.
Okay.
Back then,
Yeah.
it's probably 8 years ago.
So we're 6,000 to the plus.
Yeah, I mean, the technology is getting better. I mean, these things are-
It's gone, where's the money gone?
Jesus.
Well, it's hanging
Now,
out.
this is the act of the doable, Elaine. We're not gonna get into deep timber here.
The town sign committee said no, it wasn't do it, you know.
well, it was planning and zoning sign regulations. Those can be fixed.
And they didn't say no, they said, you know, think about these things, because it was just a preliminary proposal. And it's just, I think it died.
It lost momentum.
It didn't come back.
So we need to get the
Now,
momentum.
what I think also happens is people go to the land use office and the regulations say you can't do something and they say you can't do it. But you can always petition for a change in the zoning regulations. Or you can, I don't think a variance works on this, but you can always petition for, to say that for municipal, purposes that there's an exception made or that, but.
That's good, but ultimately it comes down to the man upstairs. And I don't mean God.
God is easier to deal with.
Well, no, the thing about zoning regulations is the man upstairs doesn't have much to say about zoning regulations.
I asked about the signage because we do signs at the high school and at town hall and at the police station. I was told that they are doing this because they don't want to have people leaving up signs for as long as they want. Well, that was told to me by Mr. Fritz.
Right, that's a different thing than the sign we're talking about.
I realize that,
Yeah.
but it's very similar. He's the one who told me. He's the one who has the control of it. So maybe we should, go there first.
Well, no, I guess the thing is that we're talking about the banners and how much time, and I guess there's a lot of competition for those banners. What we're talking about is obsolescing the banners by putting in LEDs and, but the thing is the only thing that you have to come up with the money, which that is upstairs perhaps, if that's where we want to go. But the other one is getting it past planning and zoning in terms of sign regulations. And there are a couple of us who are on planning and zoning who are here who I think, we can't prejudge it, but I think if it came before us, we'd be a discussion that would be probably received with some friendship,
I don't
so.
think anybody would be against it.
Pardon me?
Let's resurrect it.
Yeah.
You're right,
Let's resurrect the priorities on it.
But the thing is, when you go to the land use office, they'll just tell you what the regulations are.
Well, they're just enforcing it.
Right.
All right, let's write something down, doable.
Resurrect the Rotalese.
Digital sign.
Digital sign.
Digital sign. Do you think you can find that documentation?
And maybe the technology may be so
I'm
different.
sure we have copies of
It
it.
is, the technology, as we were talking, a sign,
Gas
yeah.
lamp.
No, the kind of, you have to put
Town crier.
boards in.
Town crier.
Probably go online and find 8,000 digital.
Yeah.
Marked out $6,000. Put John's name next to that.
No, where did that money?
6,000 Turkish lira.
Where did that money end up going? Into the general fund?
That was the question, that's all the village.
Okay, all right, so
truck.
We can have a grant money.
is there grant money available?
Probably.
Yeah.
There might be, yeah.
Well, I would like to know where that $6,000 is.
You go tomorrow.
Okay.
Money cost.
All right. All right, what else, who wants, are there people here who'd like to pursue what's going on? Ask the right questions.
Aman?
Pursue with whom?
Well, we need a little background information, like a real good cost analysis of what this signage, what we want and what the signage is gonna be. Establish the existence of the $6,000 that the 350 committee contributed. And did any Rotary funds go toward that?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, but when Rotary had put up the scoreboard sign, when the town wanted a scoreboard for the football field, and they had no problem 2 years ago asking if we would be willing to spend $2,000 to update it.
Right.
And we did.
You did, right.
Whatever, so when it's to their need, it's doable.
So there's definitely, what I'm hearing is, there's potential we can still approach.
Right.
There might not be any money set aside by Rotary, but we can still.
No, it's not, no, it's more,
And what Minor said is make a presentation to the CEC.
Yeah, November 13th is
Okay.
the selectmen's budget gets presented to see.
Is anyone from Bluefish Festival?
What date is that?
I'm right here. I'm Bluefish Festival.
Oh, what's about the
So you're only asking,
Europeans?
I think it's a
basically
great
$12,000.
Right. And then also, with that, because this is what is, actually find out to be, by the 13th of November, say, here's what it looks like, this is what we want, if we want to do it for, it's gonna cost, you got the 6, Willie, I know you got the 6, I don't know where you put it, you need 14 more, and that's it, because, remember the 6, we gave you the 6, and 14 more. So that's it, and also,
John, you're going.
also underneath that is the thing about the parking signs that we talked about the other night. Well, what would it cost, and what would we have to do to actually have some signs around town? Not to design them yet.
You just call Pete, and he'll tell you how much it costs.
So,
You've got a
yeah.
catalog of
Right.
the-
But I was gonna say, so Pete and group, they should have some sort of cost estimates.
Oh, they have catalog, they have sign catalogs galore.
I mean, just an idea, so we go back and we bundle it all together and say, we need some signs in town. And I could talk to you about the
Yeah.
exit 62, because I've talked to people.
Things you have to get to Willie before the 13th.
Yeah.
Right, get it in.
Because he has to put it on the,
You're right.
Agenda.
okay. And so the procedure is, it's on a list and then the selectmen okay it and pass it to.
Then it goes to the finance after that, right?
Yeah,
Right,
it comes
right.
before.
Board of Finance,
His
correct.
budget.
Selectmen first, then
Okay.
finance.
Okay.
So
So
then,
we can nominate John to do this?
No, not to.
He's doing it?
No, you and I can do it.
We'll do it together.
Okay.
Good.
All right, I'm on and
I'll
John.
say, remember that 6,000 we got in, then I'll sit down.
but yeah, to propose, yes, I think that's what we should do, is something, we said
cross out
something
the H.
doable.
We are the witness.
Okay,
Yeah, AMA.
very big
Put it in
fan.
their lives.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, all right, so, this is a tangible thing. Let's think about the calendar and I mean, do we want to do Kirk, would you want to do a quick tutorial about, if anybody wants to look at the handout and see if you have any questions, we can identify organizations that, Kirk, right now, what organizations are sending you information?
Well, I get information kind of ad hoc from a variety of people. Jane Welch sends me stuff
Okay,
every once in a while. And then I've integrated into this the chamber Google,
yeah,
and there's somebody, I think 2 of them that are, I know the chamber, I think there are 2 of them. There was a 3rd one which was Donna used, but I took them off because they never put who they were on it.
The Madison.
And they're Madison. But anyway, so anyone that wants to, I mean, if you look on, if you actually go to the site and you hover over some of these, you'll see that it'll pop up what's behind it. It was interesting that 75th anniversary is in here. I looked at it online a minute ago, probably because it's on the chamber calendar. So anything that's on a Google Calendar that I aggregate, automatically gets put in here. And the other good thing is if you change it on your calendar, it changes it on this calendar immediately. So, so if you open and you look on the other side, there are really 2 ways to post. One is to go to the post tab and just send me something, which I'd prefer you not to do, but it's there. It's there if you want to do it. And the preferable one is to send me a link, to your Google calendar. And if you don't have a Google Calendar, this kind of gets you started on how to create one. So, that's what's on here. And if you have any questions, my phone number's on the back, and or if you have any questions now.
Is there kind of a seamless way that an organization can embed their website link within this calendar, so then if somebody wants to know more about the organization, for example, it'll directly...
It should be. I've never tried to do that, but I would think that on every one of those, I know that in Gmail, you can embed links.
Okay.
And if nothing else, you could always cut and paste a link into it and they could click on it.
Even in Google Calendar, you can do it. In the
Okay.
description section, you can post the link.
Right.
Okay,
It'll
good.
work.
And you could probably also post one to a map, to the Google Maps.
Yes.
You know, so there,
Oh, that's,
there
that's
are
great.
ways to do the, you know, that will take you to the website or take you to the, to more information about the event than is in the calendar. So but I think that people, as they get more comfortable with a Google
Yeah.
Calendar, will begin to figure out some of those things. The most important thing is that if you're doing a Google Calendar and you assume everybody knows it's your calendar, and so you don't put in things like your name and your address, you really do need to put it in each of those events, so that when it comes in, when it's aggregated, it doesn't just come up with, you know, a time, you know, beginning and end time and kind of who the entertainment is. They don't know where it is. Or,
Right.
so even though it's on your Google Calendar, everybody knows it's your Google Calendar, but if it's aggregated someplace, that information will be lost.
Okay.
Yes?
The only, I think it's great, I was on a committee with Ellen Kavanaugh, all the nonprofits a few years ago, we tried to do Google calendars. It was difficult, but we were working into their Google calendar. I think, in my mind, I'm not all that computer savvy to have to go into all different websites rather than, or all different Google calendars, just to go to one calendar. So what is your calendar
That's
going to be called?
Clinton.
Well, it's ClintonCTEvents.com.
All right, so.
It's on the cover.
Yeah, already done.
Yeah, it's on the cover. You go there and you'll see what we've got. And
And so how do we go about getting everybody to check their ClintonCTEvents.com?
well, I think part of that is it's promoted on our monthly flyers that we're passing out at the mall, and that we have it's also at
Promo.
yeah, it's on the promo. It's also at, you know, we're distributing these at UPS and at the Clinton Arts Project, at Cindy Stevens, down at the marinas.
The goal is that eventually the town website will have this information on it. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
And, but we're still working on the RFP for the redesign of the website. So that's at least, 6 months to a year out, right? So this is a great way to transition from nothing to
Easy.
something great, to something.
And easiest way too, but easiest way too.
I have a question. So who's going to be managing it? Who is going to be the admin or the curator of this calendar? You are. Yeah, because intentionally or unintentionally, if somebody puts in there that's not
Right.
Well,
appropriate.
right. I mean, the thing is
So
that
at least something can be.
So like.
right. If you send me a link to what is a legitimate calendar,
Yeah,
I'm going to leave it up to the administrator of that calendar
yeah,
to look at, to administer. If you send me something for an ad hoc, something that you want to have added, you know, I'll look at it, and if I don't think it's legitimate, I'll try to get some more information.
yeah.
But usually the people who've sent me this, I recognize them. I mean, I know who they are.
Yeah, you also don't want people putting in their coffee at our store today is 99 cents.
Right.
It should be legitimate something.
Is there a limit to the number of things that you can put on a given day?
There probably are,
Sort
because
of
if you
a
look,
first come, first served?
yeah, well, the thing is
If it really were to get going.
yeah, when you get into this, you'll see that there's kind of a limited spot in each of these boxes.
Yeah.
And so far, I don't think we've gotten to a point where I guess you probably have to scroll down in some way, and that'd be a high-class problem.
Right.
And we may get there.
Right, we may.
And we have to- and we'll have to-
My family calendar was a lot like that,
Yeah.
so.
Right, we'll have to solve it.
Right.
Well,
when
is
we
there
get to it.
parameters for it? Because I'm looking at it now, and every Friday, every Saturday, there's something that says Scottish Games.
Right.
So there's not necessarily an event there, he's open.
No, it is an event.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he
So
actually,
it's okay.
we don't put in things unless,
Sea Shanty.
That's-
yeah, well, it's the same thing, you're right.
That's on the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, so.
Yeah, that's the big.
Which is great, which I think is awesome, but it seems like it's gonna get really messy and really full.
So.
Right. At which point we'll have to,
Edit.
Yeah, because I would look at this and I'd go, okay, now it's getting a little overwhelming. And now I'm not finding the
I mean,
bigger.
yeah, I think one of the things we were trying to do is to get across sense that a lot's going on in Clinton.
So what you're saying.
And, you know, on our flyer, it's full on the back, and then at the bottom, it points them to this site. So they can get more information about what time it is and what the address is.
Have you seen it?
It's wonderful.
Just no better.
Good job, thanks.
No, that's the town council.
That's not, yeah, this is,
It's all the information that's on.
yeah.
So like it's got to be.
See, we were trying to do one
You know, this is,
Right now,
family, you know, like
it's
all our
this is.
empowerment series.
like unless you're looking for like this Friday
Yeah.
night, I have no idea what's going
By
on.
itself, I mean, you sort of.
Totally open.
I think to be
You know, this is sort of seeing that here's some visitors from politics.
Right.
There's one on here, so.
Oh, no, yeah, it's the newspaper we get.
Yeah.
Events on everything you go to.
Yes, everything gets the same way.
But everybody gets
Yeah.
to use it right now. This
Yeah.
was
Do they don't have that?
I know you might,
Two.
I know with mine,
a long list of
One
friends.
list, yeah.
Yeah.
it like pops up and says 2 more events on this day.
So they just give you large.
That's why I was trying to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's New York County, you look them up there.
Is that like, you got one more?
Thank you, all right, we have a calendar, I've done that.
Well, that's on the Google calendar, this is what you're doing. This is all over that.
So we have
Did somebody, Lynn, somebody besides Kirk,
You know, the school when they have all the events.
Can someone?
you know, somebody besides Kirk?
It's the same event every Friday,
Yes. No, you want, anybody
but
else?
that's right, that's what you do. Is you want to sit
I
there.
just removed a line because I know there was some designs here.
I suppose, yeah. All right, and we're trying, you had something about history. Yeah.
I have no idea what's already been talked about or done with it. So I just, having been a teacher, I immediately thought, oh my gosh, we've got to get the kids involved. Like, so have them in classrooms research the history of different buildings. It doesn't have to be the whole trail, but like some of the ones where
Industry.
Yeah, some part of it. Have them be part of doing the research and the particular plaques or signs that go up there, maybe their classes' names and the year. I mean, because people, you know, that when their kids have taken ownership, they take ownership, and I think that would.
I think it's important to,
It'd be great educational.
I think it's important that we have,
The kids could do anything.
Kids could make a map,
Kids
and
are
then it
amazing.
could be publicized, and, you know, their class gets the credit for making this map, and it gets handed out at the,
I think it's important that we keep Marie involved in this thing because the, well, you know, this town is very concerned about proper, you know, proper use of its history. And I think she knows, and so, I mean, I think the kids are good, but I think it would be really important if you kind of state about that it was all authentic and right and done correctly.
Yeah, you did a study, right?
You know, it was
Sure,
done.
yeah.
It's almost like you directed the kids on how you would how they should be involved, because you don't want something bumps up here and then somebody from the old brick says, that's not right. And that's a possibility, you know?
we can get the right.
Some involvement, involvement. Great for them, and or even as part of the trail, questions that could be addressed. Maybe it's a pamphlet that goes along with it, but that's made just for the kid.
Okay, stop press for a second. So we've actually already got this done, okay? There's a great walk through historic Clinton. There's a plaque, you can all have a look at it. There's a plaque across the street by the town information booth, and there are flyers printed up. It was printed by the Historic Society. Now you can take this further with your idea and have kids, you know, dig into each building if you wanted, but it's done. Let me just pass these out, because these are just worth looking at. You don't necessarily need to.
Did you get already?
This is a great little tour.
That sounds like it's so like they go out every Saturday. And they go out and they
I think the historic society got
Advantage that I feel.
Are these made into a brochure or anything?
Yeah, they are,
Like
but
this, like
again,
this thing?
I think, yeah, they are. I think the historic society has some, but again, I think it's more about distribution, right? So just the fact that everyone in this room was talking about it, didn't know that we already have it.
exactly.
You read that to all the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts?
Those could be really
Oh, Connecticut Scouts. Yeah.
Because, I was just saying to Ellen that my husband took the kid, I think he might have used this,
Is
he
it what?
took his scouts.
It's right,
They've gone to most of
right
them.
outside.
They have
It's
history that and community
And,
background, they
it's
all
all
have to do
the
that.
right people involved with
This is
it.
beautiful, landscape mark, right?
And over the summer, I took it to the Jake Robotic Museum in Massachusetts, and they have these really cool bags you can get for kids, and it's for like you guys, and they have questions and activities and all that to do with These little like bags, you just check them out, and you use them for however you want, as long as you want. It was like a little kit with a pencil and some little doodads, and yeah, we did that. My kids were all over it.
Yeah, my
So
guys
will we
too.
reprint
And,
it?
I wish Santa Luke was here because she was talking about having a Heritage Day, where like, of course, getting ahead of ourselves with that, but when we kind of launch this trail, and, we could capitalize on the sense of, putting together an event.
Right.
Bring people, people love history.
Yeah. Well, that's like they said, you said, and there were.
Are the hours all correct?
Obviously.
Another, please. Another dimension that could be added to this would be to use Ancestry.com to really do some work on who lived in these houses, and maybe even who some of not who their ancestors are, but who some of their descendants are, who you might invite to a Heritage Day. I mean, a lot of that stuff is very private, but you can send messages to people on Ancestry that, if you found somebody who was looking at that particular genealogy and said, we're having a Heritage Day, we see you're doing the genealogy, that house is here, you might want to come to but to use Ancestry.com to generate even.
Interesting.
Yes.
Excuse me, Alan, are these in the town hall,
I don't know.
on that desk, that front?
I do not know. I mean, that's one
I've
place,
not seen them there.
that would be a good place for them.
Besides all the other garbage that's up there, that should be really eliminated.
And the great thing about this is, I don't think I don't want to speak for the Clinton Historical Society. I'm a member, but I'm not on the board or anything. But I think they'd be pleased as punch to have wider distribution of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have any problem with that.
Our kids have gone to the,
Second stand, yes, there you go.
what's the day called? The,
Fair house?
what's the name of it?
The Stanton House where they
The
do
open house where they used to field trip during the day and they brought their parents back. And they showed their parents around.
The Stanton, yeah, the
Mary's
Mary's,
house,
yeah.
really. I mean, it was fantastic. Kids, obviously, we've all maybe seen that happen with our kids. One of my sadnesses with downtown Clinton is that I don't see opportunities for lots of families to just sort of walk around and do things downtown, unless it's an event. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd like there to be more things, because we don't have a park right on the street. You know what I mean? So like, I brought my kids for walks, and I've seen other families bring their kids for walks, certainly, especially if they live right nearby. But it's like people come downtown to get something done, and then they leave. They come take a class, or they come to go to CVS, or they come to whatever, and then they go. And I'd love there to be things to do, even on those non-days, where you could just go, let's go do that. We're not going to go down to the beach. we're not gonna go to the library, we're not gonna go to the sports field, we're actually gonna go walk up and down town. And, just one more thing.
So I've got more good news for you. Okay, so more good news. So, the Elliots recently gave their property to the Clinton Land Conservation Trust right behind Town Hall. And my understanding is that it's not going to be made into a park per se, but it will be kept as a salt meadow with paths through it. So, but that in effect will be a town park. I mean, that's how I see it.
Barb walked down there over the weekend and she said it was absolutely magnificent.
It's really beautiful.
And so we're allowed to walk there now?
I don't think it's open to the public yet, but what they're going to do is just like Peter's Woods and the other Chesterfield Forest. There's going to be signage.
The more we could get that out to people, not just events, but
There's places to
just
go.
things
Yeah,
that you can do.
And you can elaborate on that, what you can bring in, and have, as this gentleman was talking about, different stories about different houses. I know that Mary Kelly has done some interviews with the people who lived in some houses, and that could be incorporated. I mean, it could be a really developed.
The Kids Connection, what they do, they do it for the Ghost Walk, but what they did last year, just in front of all these houses, they actually researched what the stands were and what was happening in Boulder. They acted it out in period costume, and that was wonderful. Get a chance to see it, so that's what it was. Well, just on this history thing, before we forget, one of the things, it doesn't have to be just a history walk in town. I mean, this can be where we talk to some other towns along here. We can think bigger and say, look, from Essex to Chester, down to here, Branford's too far, but just in our own little congressional district or whatever we want to call it. I mean, we can start making, so you go from one town to another town to another town, it's kind of progressive history kind of thing, but somewhere where we get people outside of the town to come here, because there is a lot of history here, and then they go to Westbrook, and then they go to Chester, and then, the 1812 battle we have a lot of history. One of the things this guy said back in April was, we don't have to lay claim to just what happens between our rivers. We can lay claim to basically the Connecticut Valley when you start thinking about what you want to start romancing as far as the town and promoting. You've got Hammonasset doesn't belong to Madison necessarily. We have Hammonasset Beach on one side. We have close to the Connecticut River. I mean, it doesn't have to be the towns you can walk to. We can make it part of a history trail that goes all the way up to somewhere all the way back. That's the kind of way to make the town open its doors more, and you can get other people to want to come here, because we want to go there, and you cross market, and you do something. But it's just to make it a little bit greater. We have a lot of history here.
I got something to kind of add to that, John. So I got another handout. I only printed one of these because it's kind of a larger document, but I'll pass it around. This is exploring the old Killingworth Road, a self-guided walking tour High and John Streets. And this came out of the Historic District Commission's second phase historic resource inventory, in which we secured a grant to basically catalog historic homes with a view to determining where potential future historic districts could be. And they identified our architectural historian identified the High Street, John Street area as a real concentration of historic homes that are also under threat. A lot of them are being broken up into rental units. A lot of them are even further distressed or in fact condemned by the town. So when they asked us, as part of the grant, what area would you like us to write a walk for, we suggested this. So this is kind of the format it's in right now. I'm happy to share the electronic version with anyone, but what I'd ask is if someone's interested in this and they have, I guess it's just something to talk about right now, have some ideas, but I think, this isn't a handy, folding pamphlet like this. This is a one page that folds into a pamphlet. This is a lot more information. I think this is better as an electronic version, maybe an app or a website, but I'll just pass this around.
And I think Alan knows.
You've seen this actually, haven't you?
Well, we put it up on you have one that's
yes.
You have a PDF of this that I found that's up on, but then we've also created one that's more interactive. And you can find it at clintonctedc.com, and up at the top there's a tab that says Storied Past.
So you solved my problem, thank you.
Right, but anyway.
I forgot about that, so again, need to promote.
But it was a concept. You're taking that, and we created the concept as an idea of what could be done. In fact, I was over at Wally Woods today, and I've gotten all of their material to put in, to do the other 2 tours.
Oh, great.
Now, so that could all be done, but I think this interview that this lady, I'm sorry, is it Elaine that was talking about the? Right, talking about the interview. I don't know whether that was a video or how that, but any of that media can be put into the web. I mean, while you're looking at the house, if there was an interview, would you like to see an interview? Click here, and here's an interview. So that's the beauty of the web. And Alan and I have talked about having an audio over this, so that as you're walking around and doing this, and you've got your iPhone, and you can be listening to it and having somebody tell you about it. But then you can take it even deeper with, say, an Ancestry.com, and say, these are the people that lived here, and this is, their ancestors, and here are their descendants down to maybe a generation, because a lot of that's private. But you could actually put some, and I suspect if you talk to Ancestry.com, they'd be thrilled that somebody was thinking of doing something like this to make it, to kind of bring it to life. It would give them exposure. They'd probably, make it very available, I would think.
So Greg, you said you did tour 1 or tour 1?
I did tour 1, and then I've got the material for tour, actually, I think I call it tour 2 and 3, but they sort of had it in one, I had Waterside as one, and then I had Main Street as another one. The other thing I ran into, and maybe you can resolve this, maybe not here, but there are 2 different ways that Clinton is supposed to have gotten its name.
Right.
And I don't know how to resolve that, but maybe we can put our heads together, or how to characterize
I
it.
think the DeWitt Clinton story is true.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that just makes more sense to me. That
Versus the 3rd viceroy of.
Yeah, or whatever,
Well, it was
But I
done.
don't know, maybe,
Well, it was done in 1838. I mean, we already had the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, so I doubt if we were celebrating the British in 1838.
I thought it was Bill Clinton.
yeah, exactly. I think that's what people think in 100 years or so. I'm sure of it.
This generation.
I have to go, but I'd love to help at all with this, but also, I just one thought, the cemetery behind the Congregational Church is so incredible. And I'd love to find ways to get people there. Well, without
Oh, Bob's got it.
in grade buildings, or if that's not disrespectful, I just do that with my kids, but, tours talking about the wars and
Last year when we did the, it's Thursday, it's Clinton, that was one of the ideas that was percolating in our minds at Placemakers, is that with the farmer's market and Cindy opening and so on, that maybe we could give tours of the cemetery before the concerts at the gazebo, and that would be so cool.
I think you already answered.
We just started walking there tonight.
They have a line, I'm sure you all have seen this, but I think if you Google like Indian River Cemetery, they list the people in there, the year they died, their age, and I just sort of, in looking at Stanton family things and looking at other people who connected with them, you can kind of start piecing together the stories of some of those people, like there's a Civil War widow who she ended up in the asylum in Hartford, and then she left her 8-year-old boy here, and she ended up dying. She came back here, and the boy died shortly thereafter. I mean, it's, all these stories, and that's what I heard a preservation consultant speak last week from Virginia, and the whole bottom line history of the stories. People aren't, they're kind of interested in the buildings, they're not interested in the furniture, but they want to hear the story.
Yeah.
And
Bill Chittenden has a lot of stories.
Connection.
Because a lot of his relatives are buried in that cemetery.
I bet it does, yeah. Some more
that is what is
stories we
fascinating.
because we're competing against, sports on television, Disney World, Game of Thrones. I mean, we have a lot of competition, so. it to the interchange thing with history.
And it's about people and stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just before you go, so what age kids do you teach?
Well, I don't
Okay.
anymore. I work at a youth service bureau.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I was just
In Deep
thinking.
River.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I was just thinking,
Jackson?
you mentioned, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned getting kids involved earlier with it, but Kirk wants to kind of expand these walks and add media to them. I mean, that's a great thing to bear in mind for getting
Well, and
kids
app is
involved.
a great use of this.
Yeah.
That's
Different
fantastic.
levels,
That's where
yeah.
my brain goes immediately.
Exactly, because right now it's like an interactive PDF, but an app would be a great next step.
Yeah.
So would you be interested in working on the history
Trip.
I know nothing about Clinton's history. I'd be happy to help with any of it. Yeah.
Don't-
I'll put you in contact.
Don't have to know
Narrow
it,
it down.
you know, it's just.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think
I'll make it up. I'll make it up. I don't.
Okay, I'll get you a price.
Thank you. Anybody have overriding concerns or things that we didn't address that you would be anxious to see done?
I just want to make sure before we get into that. So Aman, you and I are going to do, we're talking about the signage, right? We're going to do that. If anybody wants to work on the signage thing, you can call me or let me know or something. I mean, right now it's figuring out what our chances are getting it
So you're
done.
going to propose it to
We'll propose it, figure out whatever it costs, propose it, get some signage, and that's
You guys
that.
are in charge for the signage. Perfect.
Yeah, just, I mean, that'll be on water. The coordination thing is perfect. Do you have any helpers on this calendar coordinating thing? Is there anybody here that, Lynn?
Kirk, Dee Tully was supposed to be here
Right.
tonight. She had mentioned that she was going to work with you. She was looking forward to working
Right.
with you.
Well, she is now.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to, she was
Denise Tully.
Yeah, Dee and I talked, she and I exchanged some emails today.
Okay.
And,
She would have been here today, but she had knee surgery and I drove her home.
And I think that the history thing is a little bit broader, because you've got Marie, obviously, and this lady.
Meredith Atwood.
I mean, that takes a lot into the town. I mean, Alan obviously will be involved, the history thing is a lot larger.
another topic that we talked about and decided to separate it was the harbor side, the Marine District.
Yes.
And so we're probably going to do something separate with some of the people that are the constituents for that area of town.
One is just getting the harbor marina people actually to form some kind of,
Well, for them to talk to each other.
talk to each other.
Yeah, Merchants Association.
We ask them many times from Skoda, they don't. They get to compete or they're not here or whatever, but I mean, almost everything, every plan ends up with talking about the Marina District.
Right.
Whether it's the plan of conservation, whether it's the EDC, whether it's talking about making it in this whole harbor area and Marina District, but you just, the people that are there, we just can't.
I think my impression is that when they're here, they're working intensely, and then when it's over, they leave for a couple of months. So the trick is to catch them just before they leave, and probably once they come back, they're back into it.
Yeah.
Which means soon. We probably need to catch them pretty soon.
One thing I wanted to bring up, this is kind of like a little off base, but a lot of people come to this area because visually they like to see different things. And have any of you been to Essex recently?
Essex what?
Essex.
The town.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
the Greeks. So in Essex, they seem to celebrate Halloween. On every
Pole, the light pole.
every lantern that they have, it's all lit up, every lantern is lit up, and it's very pretty. And they have these, ghosts hanging, or every merchant or something has something there.
And Madison has like 50 scarecrows.
Which are adorable, yeah.
Well, aesthetically, you can make it attractive or not. But one other thing, besides that, our town has something, it's always bare. The look, when you go down, all I see is cable lines and these poles. And that's all I see. I don't see any real beauty there, except for the beautiful buildings that were there, but there's nothing to enhance them. And I know that I've been after this town to put trees in, and they seem to have a real problem with trees. Why? I don't know.
Trees,
No, that's not
like Christmas.
true, because we paid for a couple of trees. The tree, whatever they're called, they plant a tree every year. But you're right, once upon a time, the Main Street had a lot of trees.
I've lived here since 1969 and have tried so many times to get them to put trees. It's in front of the town hall, on the side of the town hall, no trees. If you look there, no trees.
Well, it's not only around the town hall, it's especially the village district that we call the village zone.
Right.
Even on East Main. So I have a couple of businesses down, and in front of our buildings, I've seen those guys just cut off the trees, our neighbors. And to me, that was a shock. Like, how can they cut, and the trunk is like this thick. It's a huge tree.
Right.
Was this the state?
The CLD?
No,
CLD?
the property owner.
Who built the auto zone?
The property owner. The thing is,
They cut down.
yeah, so
I
the
thought
thing,
that
what
they
I'm trying
needed to
to,
get permission to cut down trees.
well, they're gone.
That old properties.
So what I'm trying to propose is there should be some sort of regulation or something that enforces that you have to, so these, so these
Well,
are
trees
marked,
don't
at
start
least
off
around
big.
East Main or West Main. The tree should be marked that these cannot be cut. Or because it's part of the village zone or the beautification
Well,
character of the town.
yeah, you do have a tree warden in town.
We have a tree warden.
Right, who's supposed to, no, but who's supposed to prevent, I mean, if the tree represents a threat of some kind, it's a dangerous, tree is rotten or it's.
But then you replace it with something.
Well, that's a,
Gary Buska, he's the tree.
This year, because of the paving on Route 1, it was a wash. It was the state zone. Now, I've heard next summer we might be also having a problem because they're going to have to do the bridge area. Is that, have you heard anything?
yeah, I have heard
They're
that.
working on it now.
All right, well, anyway, we've got a great opportunity to maybe put some influence, because now we have the vertical light posts, and there are 2 hangers. Now, many towns, I'm thinking of Lee, Massachusetts, does beautiful, gorgeous hanging baskets off those light posts, and it puts this beautiful flowers on your way downtown. And if we can encourage the businesses or encourage the town to support that.
Yeah, so encourage the businesses maybe, because that's, it has to be sustainable.
Right, you have to water the,
Somebody has to water them. So
Either the
trees
trees
are some,
are or they often have a downtown business district or something like that. And everybody pays a few bucks for that.
Well, we have a pretty committee.
yeah, so.
So these are all volunteer committees that we're talking about. What I want to say is that downtown, they did put in all those cute little areas in the sidewalks that they planted the lilies that now look like crap. I mean, pardon me, but they look awful. They've all.
But that had nothing to do with
it had nothing to do with pretty committee. That's
town committee.
I know, that's town property. Linda, I'm agreeing with you. That's town property.
We were
So,
angry about
I know, the
sidewalks.
committee didn't want them. Nobody, but the problem is that now it's town property and the town is not maintaining it. So I know
And they
the
put
ones
those
near
ugly
me,
lilies
they put the horrible lilies, and if you don't know anything about flowers, you don't know what's a lily and what's a weed, so then you don't know what you're calling. And then Pete Neff gets all upset because he pulled out all the lilies and you didn't know you were pulling out lilies. So anyway, so they look horrible right now, especially now with these fall leaves. They look terrible.
Well, I don't know.
So, yeah.
Who was on the sidewalk committee?
So there is no,
I mean,
there's just leaves on the sidewalk. There's just
No, who was on the committee when you designed the sidewalk?
I don't know. I don't know who did that. So there's these little, have you seen them? They're right next to the buildings. They look obvious. So, but the problem is that it's town property. So you can't just go in there and pull things out and put something new in it. I mean, it'd be great if you could just put a couple boxes in there and call it a day, because then it would make it easier for pretty committee or whoever to weed.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, just close our information up. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're all blocked. So what we've talked about with the chamber and the pretty committee, Harriet is on this with me, is creating, similar to what Westbrook has, is the Adopt a Spot program.
Beautiful, yeah.
Which would be perfect. And it's all volunteer. The person that adopts the spot is the businesses do it, people do it. That is the person that is responsible for that spot. So we already have, we've already talked to, we started with the chamber, we already talked to Pretty Committee, Harriet done it, she's on the chamber with me. I already talked to somebody from planning and zoning, they said, yep, we'll do whatever you need, but now we need to go to the So. So that is something that is in the works, but it's something that just takes time. And as long as we kind of have a plan for spring, that's what I'm hoping for. But you're right, it looks awful, and so hopefully that will be something that will beautify downtown.
What do you think about
And the
the
person-
baskets? On the light posts, do you think that
I like them, but they need to be watered. That's the big
And that requires a special truck, that the water not that high, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I know.
And the garden club does those really beautiful barrels.
Right.
That look great, but they're out there water like every day,
And they have to love the water.
They love the
All of that is
water.
seasonal, that's
Yeah.
all seasonal. We need something for, this time of year.
Well, we don't have a center island like Madison does, where they can put their big decorations.
We do, for Christmas, we do, and flags for the, patriotic holidays.
The flags will be going up, the committee puts the flags up for,
Christmas and Christmas.
yeah, because actually, probably right after Thanksgiving, we'll be doing it that weekend.
Is there anything more on the art of the doable that we're talking about, or?
We've got the tree committee doing something, that's good, that's doable, but I think we can.
But remember, we're volunteers.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer too.
I'm volunteering with our,
I mean, is there anything more we should do? I mean,
You want to set a date? You want to set a date for another meeting, I guess?
Yes.
why don't you set another meeting?
Right, we actually, November 13th is only 2 weeks from now. So,
Why don't you come back, well, you'll go before the 13th. Why don't you come back and give us a report, how it goes?
well, maybe the next week. That's 3 weeks.
Send us an email.
Yeah. I mean, we can, I have a feeling that some of this work will not need to be done by a whole group. They'll be done by individuals, and maybe we can, touch base like after the holidays.
We'll stay in a virtual family.
A virtual family, right?
Go tomorrow.